Hi, I'm Gregory Diehl. I'm 35 years old and I've lived in Kalavan Village, Armenia for the last 5 years. And in that time I've been very busy turning what was initially a very poor quality house into a nice, modern, comfortable retreat center with visitors from all over the world coming to stay here, develop themselves as individuals, and contribute to improving the property and increasing our options for making this world a better place for humans and cats alike.
And why did you choose Kalavan out of all places?
Why, oh why did I move to Kalavan Village? Well, when I moved here 5 years ago, when I bought the house, I had spent the last 10 years as a nomad, basically since I was 18, traveling around the world, mostly living out of a suitcase that whole time, trying to see as much of the world as I could, always going on a new adventure and seeing what else was out there. I've been to more than 50 countries at this point, and I guess after a while I wanted to experience the opposite. I thought it was time for a change, time to settle down in one place and devote myself to community, and seeing what kind of person I would become if I allowed myself to settle down for a bit. I came to Armenia originally because my grandmother was Armenian, and I wanted to explore the country initially just to see where this part of my family came from, but also I found it very interesting here. There's a very ancient sense of tradition. There's a lot of untapped potential in the young people here. There's a lot of intellect and creativity that I don't feel like they really use as much as they could. And more importantly, when I started looking at rural areas around this part of Armenia, Kalavan was the only one presenting itself with an impressive social narrative, that they really wanted to improve the quality of life for the rural subsistence farmers here, that they wanted to teach Western economic and entrepreneurial principles, turn everyone into a business owner in one form or another. I just saw it as kind of a lightning in a bottle situation where I had the rural scenario I was looking for. I knew I wanted to be away from large population densities, cities and towns, because I wanted to be free from their influence for the most part, without abandoning society entirely. But I saw the values that I had adopted for myself, and all the time I spent traveling around the world to some of the richest and poorest places. I became very passionate about understanding what made people wealthy or poor, how people could improve through entrepreneurship the state of their own wealth, their own quality of life, and the state of the community around them. So hearing these people publicly promote that they were dedicated to very similar things and that they specifically welcomed me to come here helped me buy the last house that was available for sale, and really put on a strong show that they would love someone like me to be living here and helping them with their publicly stated mission of improving the quality of life here and spreading business and entrepreneurial principles to rural Armenians. I just couldn't really picture a better place for someone like me to settle down. It seemed to have everything I was looking for in a long-term home, in a community I could be part of and valued for being part of. So that was in 2018. I moved into the house they helped me buy a few months later in the spring of 2019, and what shocked me most was just how differently I was treated once I actually got here. It seemed like even the same people that I'd met several times before when I came here were kind of surprised that I'd actually shown up to live in the house that I paid for. I honestly think at this point they probably were just thinking that, okay, rich American travelers coming through, he'll spend money on property and then go off to America or some other country again, because that was how they perceived me. So when I actually moved in and started trying to act on all these big plans and ambitions that we spent so long talking about, it just seemed like they were uncomfortable with me. Like they were afraid of the accountability of actually putting into practice everything they talked about, everything that they've promoted to the media for years and years here about what they want this village to be. And even the simplest things, like getting basic construction and refurbishment and restoration work done on my house, turned into just incredibly difficult ordeals for really no good reason at all. I was thinking it would be very easy to come here, start to make the kind of connections I needed with the right kind of people, and start living a comfortable life here. And instead, it was almost like they did everything they could to make it as difficult as possible for me, with people lying about the cost of building materials, people taking money to install running water and electricity that didn't happen for months and months after they took my money. It's hard to imagine it being harder than it was during the first year here. But I endured, because I'm a very adaptable person and I'm very good at figuring things out, even in a situation where I don't know anyone and I don't even speak the language. And now, 5 years later, I live in this nice big modern house, and I've been attracting a community of both local Armenians from Yerevan and other towns who want to come out here, and international travelers, people from all over Western and Eastern Europe. We're getting our first Asians in later this month. Other Americans like me have come here, because I've decided that rather than just give up on everything I've worked to create here because of how different it was than I was initially expecting, the best thing I can do with all the time and money and effort I've invested here is live up to those ideals that I initially had in mind when I bought the property and moved to Kalavan. That even if the people around me largely don't seem interested in those things, I can still be interested in those things. I can still create the lifestyle, the community, and the opportunities that I initially set out to do here, with my own property, with my own assets, and with the connections I form with other people who come here who are actually interested in those things.